Hello, I'm Christopher Morgan, and I'll be discussing how does a prince avoid the hatred of his subjects. To begin, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli states and clearly answers the question by saying, the easiest way for a prince to be hated is if he is aggressively greedy towards his subjects. For example, if he takes property or women from his subjects, then the subjects will automatically view him in contempt. When neither property or honor is damaged, the majority of men will be content with life and will not question his ruling. Machiavelli does not support a virtuous prince. He believes a prince should appear virtuous, but not necessarily act virtuous. He believes that it is okay for a prince to break promises and act cruel if it will boost his power and respect. Being hated by subjects is not necessarily a bad thing according to Machiavelli, especially if he thinks the subjects that he's being cruel to are in no way a threat to them and have very little power. If you think about it, it is nearly impossible to please everyone you're ruling. Therefore, he believes you have to cater to and rule in favor of the most powerful, because they potentially can be a threat. He uses the Roman Empire as an example. The soldiers in the Roman Empire wanted and cherished a warlike prince who would be corrupted in favor of them. On the other hand, the people of the Roman Empire just wanted peace. While a virtuous prince would satisfy the people over the soldiers, he would most likely be killed and overthrown by his own army. The Roman empires who favored the soldiers over the people maintained their power for a longer period of time. With this said, he also used an example of how siding with the soldiers can go wrong. Commodus was a Roman emperor who inherited the throne from his father. His father did a good job of keeping both the soldiers and the people happy, so all Commodus had to do was follow in his father's footsteps. He favored the soldiers to an extent that would end up diminishing him. Not only was he cruel to the people, but he would lose his respect and throw his dignity away when he would ascend into the theater and compete with gladiators. Such behavior lowered his worth and magisterial presence. As a result, he felt in contempt with his soldiers, and while being hated by both parties, he was conspired against and killed. Another point is that a prince that is highly esteemed is not easily conspired against. An easy solution a prince could have against conspirators is when being favored with the people. Because the one who conspires always tries to please the people by the prince's removal. Many have tried to be conspiracies, and very few have been successful. The one who conspires cannot do it on his own. He has to be careful about who he picks as his allies, because when he tells his plot to his fellow malcontent, the fellow malcontent can easily gain and become well rewarded by exposing the conspirator. It is very rare for them to find allies who are trustworthy and will not expose them. The conspirator has to fear execution before his plot. He has to fear getting caught. And he has to fear maintaining it as if the people are not happy about if the people are not happy with the decision to kill the prince, then the people will kill them, and then he'll be destined for doom. Machiavelli gives an example of a conspirator that removed the prince but was not able to maintain power. Messer Bettifogli was a prince of Bologna, and he was conspired against and murdered by the Canici family. The Canici family not only murdered the prince, but they murdered the entire Bentivoglio family. The only Bentivoglio that survived was Messer Giovanni, who was still a kid. Immediately after the massacre of the Bentivoglio family, the people of Bologna rose up and murdered all of the Canici. The reason the people revolted was because the Bentivoglio family was highly admired in Bologna, and the Bolognese found out that there was a Bentivoglio family member in Florence, so they sought after him and they made him rule Bologna. For this reason, Machiavelli believes a prince should not worry about conspiracies when his people hold him in high esteem. A wise prince would have taken every care not to drive his nobles to desperation and also prioritize keeping their people content. It is not the duty for the prince to have both parties live in complete happiness. He just wants to keep them content. So if someone wants to overthrow him, the mission will be impossible. In conclusion, the easiest ways for a prince to avoid being hated is if he is not greedy in the way he takes his subjects' property or women. Also, when a prince is hated by two different groups of subjects, he should make sure he acts in favor for the most powerful as they can threaten him. The end.